The demons that are woefully unprepared for the world exposure and a very severe federal prosecution, who continue to their own demise, provide evidence against itself and the rest of the people of the state who are going to sit in federal prison behind the criminal conduct that they're engaging in concert with a corrupt government that does not have a defense in existence, is sounding helicopter activity while the light source is directly above my head. This same light source is what you will see. You'll see the same light source directly over my head. You'll see the light source in the images of the van where the two demon-possessed twins of 1805, that is Ty Lee's son and Hyun Lee's son. She goes by the name of Carol Lee. They've been granted naturalization. Their parents are going to be deported, but those two were born in Los Angeles, like I was pointing out. In the screenshots, which you can see it now if you pay attention, some context, because I capture screen images, that's the light source that's over me. And then you're looking at those two demons walking toward each other. So they're walking, he's walking in this direction, the other one's walking in this direction. They come and meet here. They're giving each other high fives. They're standing right in betwixt the two cars. The light source is right over. You'll see that. You're looking at demons. And those demons are pacing while they're walking toward each other. And then they walk by one after another, and then they walk into the hallway of building 1805. Those demons are pacing together, and those demons are doing so with real-time knowledge. That's the mental illness, the personality defect, the psychopath that's demon possessed, acting over a people with impunity. Satan knows that it's being documented. Satan continues to do it. That's what they're exhibiting, and that's exactly what you see, which is supported by the evidence. This isn't the sun and their group stalking in that engineer environment with knowledge of the fact that they're being documented. And the criminal co-conspirator, the state, is stalking and sounding helicopter activity at such a great distance. It's impossible that I'd be able to hear that. That's called amplification. You can see amplification. That's amplification. The entity is doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning, flying at a great distance, but yet it's heard inside of my apartment where the windows are closed, where I'm not wearing any ear mechanism, where I have some sort of ability to turn up the volume of what I hear. I have perfect sight and vision. The entity is engaging in what is demonic while you just saw amplification. That's why they're getting disbanded. That's why they're going to federal prison for stalking in helicopters. That's why Dominic Choi, who is a demon-possessed group stalker, he is entirely defeated while he serves Satan and engaging in criminal conduct inspired by Satan, and he is done from law enforcement. He's not just losing his job, he is permanently fired. He will never work in another jurisdiction within the U.S. as a law enforcement officer. Any position, okay? He will certainly not even hold a weapon. That's amplification while I'm hearing that audible activity. It's also demonic, called crossing a path, and they're stalking, which the light source is right over me. It's not the sun that's going to be here, still at the same location at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, in alignment to my bedroom, while demons are crossing path like Tiffany Choice. She's losing all of her children. She's shown the world how you lose your children. Engage in state terrorism, engage in sexual violence, engage in group stalking with them, and you will surely lose all of your children. And then you will have a whole other feat trying to communicate to a court that you actually love them, protect them, are not seeking to further damage them, and train them up for purposes of making them terrorists in the United States, group stalking with them and in concert with them. She's a sex offender who's rearing up and engaging in sexual violence with them, and she's engaged in impunity because she's crossing path. The same exact engineered environment, not rushing home. She's doing so engaging in group stalking with LAPD, who you just saw engaged in what is targeting via amplification, targeting by crossing a path while the light source is over me, targeting while I am documenting the people of the state, and simultaneously creating that helicopter activity, which I'm never going to hear at that distance, which is the pattern of conduct. They're all demon possessed. Not only do you see them, there's engineer hallway. Light is appearing on the wall inside of that hallway while demons are walking in and out. While the demons are walking, you've seen the engineer light inside. I documented Nova, group stalkers, those two that are driving the white pickup truck. They're going to federal prison, and then they're going to be deported out of this country. And I suffered a molestation of a massive molestation while that hallway is filled with engineered light. And then you have them walking in through the parking lot, group stalking in plain sight. Okay, and so are her children. Since she's made her children group stalkers, she's going to lose all of them, and she won't be able to accumulate or gather any more paychecks, all of them, from off of them. Excuse me. LAPD is monitoring via this conduct. And that's a demon-possessed person who engages in terrorism with directed light, moving across surfaces while they're opening and closing their door, while they're driving by you. That's a demon-possessed person, and that's a psychopath. That same criminal conduct is underway while they're calling themselves smart janitorial. LAPD's group stalking, light sources over me, targeting through presence in the environment, targeting while they're engaged in real-time monitoring of what I'm doing. Okay, and so the entity is engaging in that and showing her face while I'm speaking about what she's doing. That's a psychopath. Okay, and that's again asking, begging for a federal prosecution, begging to go to federal prison. By all means, the federal government's going to deliver it. Okay, I'm just letting you know, what am I speaking to? This is the criminal elements of monitoring. I am speaking to the personality defects of psychopath. What Satan does When you call out what Satan is doing, Satan is hostile because you know what Satan is doing. And I'm referencing the name of Satan, which is a spirit operating over that person, operating over the one walking in the middle of the parking lot, operating over that one that's flying a helicopter at such a great distance I'd never be able to hear it, operating over that one that's walking their dog, group stalking and engaged in federal stalking with a communication device, disappearing in a hallway where there's engineered light on that wall, the demons that are walking on the sidewalk, the demons that's engaged in surveillance in the laundry room, acting in sync with the demons that are stalking in helicopters. Satan is a spirit. And the more that you speak to what Satan is doing, Satan is hostile to that because it's supposed to be secret. It's supposed to be unknown. And the fact that you can discern those wicked spirits operating over the people, that breeds hostility. But Satan is now going to be prosecuted, and everything that Satan continues to do with real-time knowledge is going to be used against it in federal court. Okay, and that is not supported by any religious text. Well, actually, what I'm stating, these are spiritual truths, but I'm speaking to, it's not based on some religious text. I'm going to prosecute her for the criminal conduct that she's engaging in, but it's further context, and it's relevant to the people in this country that you need to know that that's a demon-possessed person, what it looks like, what it acts like, what's wrong with it. It's a psychopath, and it's a threat to your safety. That's the kind that shouldn't be in the medical field. That's the kind that won't hold jobs in any way posing threat to the lives of American citizens. That's the kind that's going to be deported out of this country after they sit in federal prison. That's the kind that's going to be removed from the medical field, from the legal profession, from law enforcement, from ever flying airplanes, driving public transportation. You're going to remove these psychopaths and sex offenders and terrorists in this country from every area of life, including the minor children that they are in custody of while they are exhibiting this desire to engage in this criminal system. And they do so with impunity. That's what smart janitorial, like I said, I'm going to drain the pocket. Smart janitorial is not going to survive. Okay, Speaker Companies is not going to survive. The entities engaging in, let me be clear, the HOA company for Silverview Townhomes is not going to survive. I'm going to prosecute them. The entire entities engaged in workplace harassment and terrorism and sexual violence as an entity in addition to that. Okay, so that's what I'm pointing out as at the same time while I'm showing you what is the criminal system, the elements that remain present, all three elements, they're in the specific environment, and then to the demise, to its own demise and exposure of all of their same identical condition, a bunch of demons crawling around in engineered light, and they do more of it. Satan does more of it the more you call out the wicked that they're engaged in. This wicked conduct is not any exercise of religious right. These are very serious federal offenses, and a whole government's going to be prosecuted for it. There is no defense for LAPD engaging in stalking on its face, and helicopters at that. Oh, that's establishing new grounds, okay? Aiding to a new landscape with regard to prosecuting public corruption, where a government is criminally keeping you under surveillance. So I want to make sure that I recognize it's 11:44 a.m. The light source is still over me. Remember, I showed you what is engineered light. I showed you what is engineered light moving across my ceiling while those same demons of the LAPD were flying directly past my window, which is called crossing path, and the light source is still in alignment with me. Let me be clear. It's not the sun. It's not the natural environment where I am here. Let's count 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 hours from now. The sun is not going to be at the same address, and that's exactly what I documented, and that's the same exact demon-possessed agency engaged in 24/7 criminal surveillance. They are violent sex offenders, and they are demon-possessed. And on all of those bases, they are going to be removed from their positions permanently. Okay, and every area of life where they pose a threat to the American public. And that's exactly what you demonstrate, and that's exactly what the evidence reveals when you are a group stalker. It is, again, 11:45 a.m., and this is P.O.C. I want to make sure, again, let me spell out for you before I end this video. I'm at, right now, the management office. This is where I'm standing right now at 11, and the entity is group stalking, crossing path, flying at a distance where it's impossible for me to hear it. That's how you can see what it is I'm referencing with regard to what you hear. That's how you recognize what is a demon that is targeting you. The malice with which the demon-possessed entity seeks to stalk you. Let me be clear. It's malice where demons are stalking you in a helicopter, and it is intentional to be at such a great distance because the target individual is supposed to appear as though you're a paranoid schizophrenic. Not when you're aware of what are the demonic methods employed to target you. That's how you're able to see what I'm referencing. You see amplification, in other words, because of that great distance and yet the amplified volume. That is the unnatural volume, the heightened volume. I would not even hear that, not inside of my office, not even while I'm standing outside, also not when I'm locked up in my bedroom, in my apartment. The entity is engaging what are demonic methods, and because they're engaging in not only stalking, but demonic methods of stalking, that's a heightened level of what is federal prosecution and for what is terrorism. In addition, it's the specific environment. Not only is there engineer light remaining 24/7, but literally under the light source. At 11, it's 11 right now, the light source is over me. This is the same sidewalk where I'm showing you as I was inside of my apartment at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was here at 9 o'clock yesterday, standing here. The light source is over me in alignment. The same sidewalk. I go back to my apartment building. The light source is over me at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're looking at the same demons crossing paths repeatedly in a helicopter. That's not the sun that's going to be at the same sidewalk location in alignment to me for that term of time. There is evidence beyond that, though. The entity rising and setting a sun. Today, you're capturing the light source that's remaining above me, and it's 11. The entity engaged in yesterday what was a sunset while I am on the same property inside of building 1806. From here to here, in alignment to my bedroom window, after 5, 6, the same demon-possessed agency flying by my window in helicopter repeatedly, and you're looking even inside of my apartment, engineered light flashing all over the ceilings. Go ahead and look at the tapes. All right, they're engaged in what is blatant stalking at this point. That's the psychopath that is demon possessed, doing so under the guise of what is smart janitorial. That demon knows exactly what I'm speaking of when she makes herself visible before a camera. That's the personality defect of the demon possessed. And that is how you have what is the expiration date of a secret society that's monitoring American citizens, because Satan cannot control itself. Satan cannot contain its impulses that are entirely wicked and demented. Satan cannot in any way inhibit what is its unnatural and inhumane and very disturbing desire to stalk and monitor. That is, create activity with simultaneity to what I do and that demonic environment that they're surrounding me by. You are surrounding, that is criminal surrounding in that specific environment, and they're all demons in the same way that that environment is demonic. All of their behavior is demonic, and it serves for what is the construct of a federal prosecution. Okay, so again, this is smart janitorial. This is exactly what I was in the middle of capturing images of, and then the entity wants to engage in what is harassment. Beatrice Toledo, just so that you see what it is that I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. Beatrice Toledo is a group stalker engaged in 24-hour surveillance. She is at 1816 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 4, and she's going to federal prison. Okay, she is going to federal prison. Smart janitorial, engaged in state surveillance. There's no difference between the environment. There's no difference between the ongoing demonic behavioral pattern of following, stalking with activity creation, maintaining concerted conduct in concert with the entity that's stalking in helicopters and via sirens. The light source is remaining equally above my head while they are present in the environment. There's no exception because you hold a hose in your hand or because you come in and monitor me closely by cleaning my office. That's equally threatening to my life and my safety, my well-being, and it's occurring in the workplace. That's creating a whole other basis for recovery, which speaker companies will not survive. Okay, these companies will be civilly and criminally prosecuted. The company will be published as a group stalker, and then the employees of that company will be published as a group stalker, because the American public, the world, needs to recognize the companies that exist, that serve Satan, that are indeed hostile to your privacy, to your constitutional rights here in this country. They want to make $1 off of you, and they want to terrorize you and group stalk you, which is keep you under surveillance, because they serve Satan. All of that needs to be known. And so that is literally the itemization of what is demonic activity, which is of a high criminal nature. And this is all occurring, again, in concert and on behalf of the state that's stalking in a helicopter. Beatrice Toledo, being a demon, is doing the exact same thing that they all do. They all enter the laundry room, engaging in criminal surveillance. They're stalking in the path. And then those demon-possessed people that make up a whole apartment complex engage in the same identical behavior. And they're engaging in identical behavior in concert with the same state, the entity that's group stalking in helicopters, the LAPD, and they're doing so, and also airplanes. It's not just a helicopter. The state uses planes and helicopters. I've also documented that. The equally amplified audible activity, equally stalking criminal conduct using planes and helicopters. They do it with the same entity, and then they are maintaining presence in the same identical environment, which is a specific environment. It's in a natural environment. That is the system. Nothing is changing. You can do it in the name of a business. You can do it in the name of being a coworker. You can do it in the name of being a resident. You can do it in the name of being a visitor coming to pick up one of these demons. You can do it in the name of being a business coming and dropping off food to one of any of them. You can do it by calling yourself a supervisor, a manager. It does not matter who you think you are. There is no respecter of persons, by the way, with regard to demon possession, which you will see equally demonstrated by whoever it is and whatever position they hold, including a corrupt law enforcement agency, and they're all going to federal prison together. Every single last one of them. Okay, this is audible activity creation 323-534-2489. All right, they call the office and engage in what is audible activity creation, often doing so with numbers that are not even real. And when I call back, and I am fortunate enough for a person to admit to me what your name and identity is, because you're going to be prosecuted for group stalking, and you're doing it in the workplace, and it is grounds of federal prison, by the way. But nonetheless, you will be prosecuted as a group stalker engaged in workplace terrorism. And in addition to that, that's the relevance for the inspiration for why the entity started sounding helicopter activity when it did, because I was right here getting prepared to capture still images, which I'm still going to do. What is my point in capturing this video? Not only am I capturing an ongoing consistent pattern of criminal activity whereby the state is already prosecuted beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way. The conspiracy that exists between the people and the state is already established well beyond the legal standard, clear and convincing evidence. In addition to that, I am showing you what is relevant for your well-being. You need to recognize, first of all, that Satan is real. Satan is a spirit. He uses people. He is using an entire population to engage in what is group stalking, which is not practiced by some random group that meets together every other Wednesday night in some dark building in the middle of a field. Okay? Group stalking is a state system. The government is the secret society. The government's engaged in group stalking. The government is serving Satan. And the government is using and acting in concert with companies, businesses that are selling you products. You work for them, okay? Or they're coming and providing services to you. They're publishing their business and their value to the public on the internet, on radio, on television, as being all the good things that they do, all the people that they serve, all the provisions that they make for the homeless, for those that are suffering from COVID. Okay, all the things that they give away for free. They're not telling you about the fact that they serve Satan and they're demon possessed. Their workforces are demon possessed. Their buildings, by the way, where they keep their establishments, they're engaged in group stalking and monitoring, literally by facility, by address, because there's no sun that's going to be over their business, and it's going to be remaining over me, which is a matter of evidence, by the way, conclusive facts. All right, speaking to what's not the natural environment. And then in addition to that, you have them making money while they're keeping you under surveillance. And upon exposure, upon an American citizen like myself enforcing my rights, the demon-possessed entity, that corrupt government, this issue of public corruption is further expounded upon. It's better understood when you see that true hostility, which the entity initially sought to conceal. Satan's not hiding it anymore when the evidence is establishing the stalker that you are, the demon-possessed person that you are, and yet you continue, and then you do more of it, and then you demonstrate and reveal more hostility, which is reasonably construed from your demonic behavior, okay, from your persistence to engage in that. That's showing the true faces of those that want to be identified by company names. You're giving them money. You subscribe to them. You watch them. You support them. You work for them, or you buy products from them, and they're monitoring you, and they hate the fact that you would ever in any way enforce your rights against not being subject to what is surveillance. In this country, we have a right to not be subject to it. And the reason as to why, the reason as to why is because these are puppets of Satan, and puppets of Satan are sitting in positions of government. And that's why, with regard to the prosecution of the state of California, they will be removed from the courts. They'll be removed from the sheriff's departments. They'll be removed from the police departments. They will be removed from the areas in society where they pose a threat to the American people in this country permanently. All right. And you're also serving the public when they are published as the terrorists and the sex offenders that they are, because that's what group stalking is. It's an exceedingly violent sex offense, and it's an act of terrorism. It's domestic terrorism in violation of your constitutional and human rights. So it is currently 11:54 a.m. This is documentation of what is audible activity. This is the federal stalking conduct. And so is everything that's happening on this communication device that I'm working on. And this is a desktop computer, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, which again, the entity, Smart Janitorial, they're monitoring on the venue of the internet. This is what is so absurd about this criminal system. A property management company that's a group stalker is simultaneously violating federal housing laws. That is, anybody applying or receiving federal housing funds. This is information. This is private information, private identifying information that I'm regularly, routinely dealing in as a property manager, where I am subject to criminal monitoring, both where I live and where I work. And you have the demon-possessed group stalkers, criminals that are engaging in surveillance with a corrupt law enforcement agency. Both aspects of that entity, both Mary Jo and Jane, who am I referencing, the co-conspirators, the state and the people of the state, are simultaneously violating federal housing laws while they're maintaining and sharing, having access, looking at, distributing because they're keeping me under surveillance. So everything that runs across my screen, everything that I'm talking about, everything that I'm dealing with, any and everybody that comes in here under the guise of applying or living here, their private identifying information, their social security numbers, what that or whatever is related to that is shared amongst an entity that's engaging in the criminal act of federal group stalking and monitoring. And that's a whole other independent grounds of prosecution, not only for speaker companies and the employees of speaker companies, but the people of the state. They have criminal access and knowledge of that while they're invading my privacy. Anything that's going on my cell phone and my emails, it's all a matter of public information. Okay, so being that sex offender, being that terrorist, it's creating and understanding what is the foundation for additional grounds of federal prosecution. Okay, it is currently, again, 11:56 a.m. and this is P.O.C.